related to both agenda and non-agenda items. Those addressing the board are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes per meeting. The speaker should identify their name, group affiliation if any, and make a brief presentation with an identified solution if one is sought. Remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole. Oral presentations may not include charges against any employee or board member by name. It is my responsibility to determine if the person addressing the board has attempted to resolve the concern informally or through the district's complaint policies. If not, the speaker will be directed to follow the appropriate policy. The board requests that all presentations be made in a courteous, respectful, and professional manner and asks that speakers monitor their own behavior. If you wish to speak during one of the open forums, please fill out one of the cards located on the table in the entry hall. Dr. Harrington, any comments?
No additional comments today.
Okay. Any clarifications?
None at this time.
All right, then at this time, we would like to have a recognition of Mr. Saeed Rajabali, Assistant Athletic Trainer at Trinity High School. Ms. Hollander?
Thank you. This job is getting to recognize our staff and our students at this meeting every month. But tonight, we're extra proud of Mr. Saad Rajabali for his heroic actions at a recent junior high football game. When a 7th grade student from Birdville ISD went into cardiac arrest, Mr. Rajabali acted swiftly and decisively using the school's AED to save a student's life. His courage and professionalism and dedication exemplify the highest standards of service, and HEB ISD, Birdville ISD, and the City of Euless are deeply grateful for his life-saving response. So I would like to invite Dr. Gail Stinson, Superintendent of Birdville ISD, up, along with staff from the City of Euless. So what we would like to do first is, Saad, if you would come join us up here. And I'll read this. This is a Okay, if you'll stand there, we'll do this one first. We'll do this one right here first. Okay, this is for your heroic life-saving actions during a junior high football game, exemplifying the highest standards of service of HEB ISD. Thank you.
Lots of pictures.
Yeah.
All right.
1, 2, 3. Okay. And if anyone would like to say something, please come to the podium.
You make me look. Yeah, you make me look. Are you done, Chief? All right, so first of all, thank you all so much for allowing us to do this tonight. It's an honor to be here, and we appreciate y'all's time. Before we get started with Saad, just think about the opportunities you had and the opportunities you will have in the future when you have AEDs all around your schools, all around the district. You're doing the right thing. You're putting those things in place, but it takes someone who knows how to use it and who has the thought process to be able to just jump out there and get things done. So if you'll allow me, I'll read this plaque. Proudly presented to Saad Rajab Ali, Assistant Athletic Trainer and Science Teacher at Trinity High School, in recognition of his quick thinking, swift action, and dedication to saving a life on the field. On September 8th, 2025, when a player collapsed during a game, Mr. Rajab Ali responded without hesitation, retrieving an AED and administering life-saving measures, including defibrillation and chest compressions. He revived the student and ensured their safe transport for further care. Because of his quick thinking and dedication, a life was saved. And just so you know, that student, by the time we got him to the hospital, he was awake and talking. So congratulations.
Good evening. My name is Gail Stinson, and I serve as the superintendent for Birdville ISD. And we have a team here tonight to thank you for your swift action. And just like he said, we train people all over our districts, all over every district, how to use the devices. But the question is, are you going to have the wherewithal to use it in that moment? And you did. And on behalf of the family and the district, we are so grateful for what you did. So thank you very much. And we do have a token of our appreciation, very little in comparison to what you did, but we want you to know how much it means to us that someone took care of one of our own when they were away from us. That's a big deal to us. So thank you.
I'm Barry Norton, the athletic director of Birdville ISD. Been in this athletic business for 38 plus years, and I've never had to come across that. And I want people to understand the courage that it took to do that in a highly stressful moment. And everybody that I've talked to from that point said everything was perfect, and thank you very, very much. We appreciate you.
And I just want to say on behalf of the board side, how thankful we are for your actions, because it's really, we can train a lot of people on how to do it, but it takes a special person to step up when that moment comes and be able to handle yourself, like the other folks said. But we're very thankful for you and for everything you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're ready for open forum. No cards. Then at this time, we're going to adjourn into closed session pursuant to Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The board will adjourn into closed session pursuant to Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076.
Oh, okay, good. Oh, okay. I was gonna say she was really familiar. I was trying to figure out why I
All right, at this time, the board will reconvene into open session. We're going to start our reports and presentations by our library report. Ms. Selich.
Good evening. I would say I'm generally glad to be here, but not too sure about that tonight. Just to be honest. So at least with this report, the second report's a little bit better, but this one will be fun. So I've been asked to give a report on the libraries of basically where we are right now, given the legislature that has seen in their infinite wisdom to give us a few more things to think about, and then maybe some of the things to think about where we are going. So as it aligns to the strategic plan, we're looking, of course, at student success at all times. That's always our number one goal, effective and efficient, of course. And then for me, with the programs that I work with, the family and community partnerships. So the purpose of this presentation is to look at House Bill 900. That was in 2023. It was the Reader Act, and I wish I could tell you what that stood for. That was an acronym, but I don't remember. And then Senate Bill 13, which was just passed this summer. And then to clarify some of the current legal expectations for the districts, and then also to make sure that we are aligned with both of these statutes and that we are being transparent in everything that we do. And then a look at maybe some of the resources and services that we could consider going forward. So the Reader Act created the mandatory library collection development standards. Those actually, even though this was passed in 2023, they are currently being revised again, given Senate Bill 13. The Reader Act, which, well, anyway, it applies to both school and classroom libraries. And then the two terms that came out of this bill that were particularly relevant to us were the word sexually relevant, which means if a student wants to read a book that has that attached to it, then it required parental consent. And then sexually explicit, the state said all of those books had to be removed. And those were both defined in House Bill 900. And then, so we were able to take what we had as far as the school and classroom libraries. We created a policy for our classrooms to be able to be in compliance, because essentially What we had told the classrooms was that if the book was in the school library, then it was appropriate to be in the classroom library. And if it was not, we had a process to ensure that we could evaluate that book to make sure it could stay or if it needed to go. With Senate Bill 13, though, the parental rights actually came into this one, so we'll talk about these in just a minute. Some notifications, ability to restrict what their child checks out, and then access. The one that I know is going to be y'all's favorite bullet point on this whole screen is that one that says the school board must approve all new or donated materials after a 30-day public comment period. And I would like to say that if possible to recommend that we run the board and the public review time periods concurrently so that we're not looking at, being only able to add books once a year to our libraries. And then the two new terms that came out of 13 were indecent and profane. And those were the new prohibitive content tags. So a big shout out to Caitlin Dill in PR and marketing for helping me put this website together. I think she got a little frustrated with me because I kept coming back asking for, well, I need to change this. And she says, why don't I just give you access? I said, okay, appreciate that. And so I was able to do that. So thankfully, we have this set up, and I actually brought my notebook to take notes if there's things that you want me to change, make adjustments to. But we thought that putting everything on one page, as far as Senate Bill 13 goes, we want to make sure that everyone understands that we are fully compliant with this. We have given the parent and guardian all of the tools that they need in order to be compliant. And then there is a new reconsideration process and form. So we've had a great process for the last several years in the district. And when this bill came out this year, the state said, we want to make some changes. We want to kind of level the playing field for all of the districts. And they gave us a form that we had to use. We could add to the form, but we could not take anything away from the form. So I want to run through those. Okay, do I just hit this? So this site is currently hidden right now on our district's website. I didn't want it to go live until y'all had the opportunity to see it. So put my glasses on so I can see what I'm doing on this one. We just put a name up here to say that these are the three things that we're talking about. We're talking about library materials, and we're looking at how we access them, how they're selected, and then if there are any questions about reconsideration, how that happens. So just a little blurb in here to tell you what we're talking about. And then we have three things down here that all pertain to Senate Bill 13. So the first one is going to be for parents. So there were three things that came out of that Senate bill that we had to address in order to provide parents with access to their students' library materials. The first one was access to our online library catalogs. Now, I'll tell you that for the last 12 or 13 years at least, our library catalogs have been wide open in the district. We don't require usernames and passwords. Anybody in the world that can get to the link can get to it, and we are fine with that. But just in case, I did provide both print instructions and video instructions for people to be able to access it. I'm not going to click on those. I'll let you click on them if you want to see them. And then the second thing was that they would have to have access to any material that their child has checked out. And I'm going to spend a little time here, so I'm going to give you I'll show you the print instructions. If this will open. Hopefully it will. So this is, the only thing they need is their child's 6-digit ID number. So it's kind of like going into Hack and looking at their child's grades. It's the same exact concept going into Destiny to look at the library books that they've checked out. The one thing that was slightly problematic for us is that one of the provisions required that they be able to see the checkout history of their child. And prior to this year, we did not track checkout history. So it's not something I ever felt like we needed to do, so we have had it off for several years. It went back on September the 1st. So whenever, and I'll show you what that looks like. so that you can see if, when you're looking, because I actually put myself as a child at a school, checked books out, checked them in, so that you can see that there's history there. But I want you to be able to see what a parent will see whenever they go in there. And this is the instructions of how to get to the Destiny catalog. This was on the first one. And I'm going to go in there real quick and just show you. So this is the main landing page for Region 11, HEB. I always look for the longest name over here on the left-hand side. And so I have myself right now as a student at Arbor Creek Elementary. Now, I've not logged into anything at this point, but to see the catalog, they would simply go over to the left-hand side, catalog, library search, and then from here, they can search their school. They can also come to the middle, to the drop-down, and search the entire district. They can search all of the elementary schools in the district, junior highs or high schools. But I want to log in because I want to see what my child, or what I have checked out. They need the first letter of their first name, first letter of their last name, and their 6-digit ID number, and then they need their 6-digit ID number. Oops. Should have double checked to make sure that worked, but I know it works. I know I'm in there. And maybe I'm not. That's okay. So whenever they go in, I'll just, I don't, no, I won't waste the time. They will be able to see exactly what their child has checked out. If they've checked anything back in this year, they'll be able to see that below. And so this will keep running. We will not turn the checkout history off until we are told that that's going to be something we can do. So I tried to give it to them in print and video, and I did narrate the video just so that if parents did have questions, they would be able to, hopefully, listening to it and seeing it at the same time would help them to get what they needed. So that was the second thing. The third thing is the ability to restrict certain titles for your child. And I talked at length with Dr. Johnson and Dr. Harrington about this, and we decided that it would be easier if they contacted the school librarian. So we have given them a list of the librarians, and it just has their names and their email addresses. And then we ask that the parents provide the information below. This is their names, child name, I need a district ID number, and then restricted titles. I want to know the title of the book, the author of the book, and I want to know the barcode of that book, because I want to make sure that we are restricting the exact book that your child wants, that you want your child to not be able to read. So if you say, well, I don't want my child to be able to read any book about magic, well, you know, that's very subjective. And what you may consider a book on magic, I may not consider a book on magic. And so we want to make sure that we are giving the exact, you know, we're following your instructions exactly. And so that's why we put the barcode on there. I'm not doing it to be a trouble to them. I just want to make sure that we are doing what they want us to do. Yes. And so what it will do, oops, I'm sorry. So as the child's librarian, I would go into the system and I would block each one of those books individually. And if someone came up and tried to check out that book, it would make some type of an alarm. I always had, it sounded like a 4-alarm fire in my library whenever somebody would come in and try to do that, because I had a siren attached to my system that let me know, even if I was all the way across the room, I would be like, freeze. I'll be up there in just a second, you know, something's not right with your account, because I didn't want those kids trying to do anything that they shouldn't do. But this would allow us to be able to restrict them just for an individual child, and then they would have to do this for each title that they wanted to do. So we're not going to do subjects. We're going to do this by individual titles. And these were the 3 things that came out of Senate Bill 13 for parents. Are there any questions, comments on this, anything that you would?
So I appreciate the time and effort that it takes to put all this kind of stuff together. One thing that I was wondering was, with regard to the instructions, is it possible to have those in other languages other than English? Because we do have a lot of parents who English is a secondary language, or a difficult language for them.
And I thought about that. Me personally, no, I can't help, but I know people that can. The video instructions, I'm hoping will mitigate some of those language barriers, even if they don't, even if they're not understanding what I'm saying, they're at least following along on my screen, so that was my thought process, but we can definitely look into that. So I just need to make myself some notes. Any other questions or concerns about the 3 components for parents? Okay, number 2, the selection process. So in compliance with state law, HEB-ISD must provide a public list of all materials that have been donated to or proposed to be procured by a school library to be accessible for public comment for a period of 30 days. Before final board approval, each list is for that level only, meaning that any books shown on the high school list will not be purchased at the elementary or the junior high. And that was a concern that one of the other districts had gotten from a parent that, oh, I see this book and it's a high school book. I don't want my first grader reading it. Well, I think you're okay. It's only going to be purchased at the level that it's for. Please remember that every one of the libraries in HEB is staffed by a certified librarian that has a master's degree in library science that are also teachers. And they know what they're doing. They are not, right now, honestly, they are very scared. They're very hesitant to order books, and I'll show you the list in a minute, and I think you'll understand. But we put the T-Slide collection standards in here so that you could see them. These are the things we look at. We don't just willy-nilly look at the cover of a book and go, I think I like that, I'm going to put that in my library. I'm going to do some back-end work to make sure it's going to be appropriate. So we're going to look at board policy, and then we're going to look at our personal library selection criteria that we've established as a district. So my recommendation, or what I would like to do, is open the public comment period starting tomorrow. Now, there are only 2 lists this time. High school did not have a list. We had a last-minute snafu whenever we came back from summer break. I had a new librarian at both places, and she got sick, and then she had a death in her family, and we were trying to order a few things at the last minute with budget money that she had, and it got ordered at one school and didn't get ordered at the other, and so we don't have to have a list because those books were already in the catalog before the September 1st deadline. So we'll just order for the other side of the district, and we'll be fine until spring. But what the public will see essentially is a list of title and author. And that's enough. Y'all will get something a little bit more comprehensive. I did not bring a copy of it to you for you to see it, but I did go ahead and put the reviews in there for you from each one of the vendors. And I will tell you right now that every book is not going to have a review. So when you open a spreadsheet and look at it, because, for example, Magic Treehouse books, they follow the same, they're very formulaic. They follow the same plot. Jack and Annie are going to go here, they're going to solve the problem, and they're going to get back by dinner. And it happens in every story. And so it's the first, probably 10 or 15 got reviewed, but, the last 95 haven't been reviewed. So if you see some that have an empty line across, a lot of nonfiction books don't get reviewed. If you're, getting books about a series of plants or something like that, I guarantee you no one is going to review a series of books on plants, and you're just going to open them and thumb through them and go, yep, that looks good, and move on. But these will only have the title and the author. Can't see. And just to make you feel better, there's 657 books on this list. And I know that sounds like a lot. Mesquite ISD had over 4,000 on their elementary list for the first round. So, but you'll notice here's a whole bunch right here, all about Antarctic albatross, humpback whales. They're all by the same person. These are all just nonfiction books, and they're probably about 30 pages apiece, and they're going to be just fine. So, but you will see there will be some that may be in here twice, and this was something the state kind of did at the very last minute, where they tied the ISBN to the title of the book, and a book can have up to 14 different ISBN numbers, and it really depends on who publishes the book. Scholastic might publish Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and then Follett might, or Bound to Stay Bound, or Permabound, or Barnes & Noble, or anybody else, and every time that book is published by a different publisher, it generates a different ISBN for it. Even though it's the exact same book, same Once Upon a Time all the way to the end, every word, they generate a different one. Well, the state says if the ISBNs aren't the same, they have to go on this list. So you may see books in here as duplicate, and that is why we just wanted to let you know that I might be ordering it from one vendor, someone may be ordering it from a different one. That's the only difference between the two. The junior high list, a lot shorter. But notice here, the first one has two of these, the exact same book. It was just two different ISBNs. They ordered from two different publishing companies, and so that was the only difference between them. I will tell you that on the elementary and the junior high list, I went through every single book on both lists, and I looked at the content. I looked at the rating for it. If it, particularly at elementary, if it said young adult, I'm going in there to look at that book and look at every review I can find. Some of them I took off the list, kind of a preemptive strike before y'all even got to look at them. I did the same thing with the junior high list, and probably between the two lists took off 18 to 20 books maybe, that I just felt like at this point in time I don't want to take a chance on some of the subjects and topics that were listed in the books. So I tried to go through and do as much of the cleanup as I could for you before I turned it over. This one is a lot shorter. I think there's a couple of hundred on this one maybe, but not too bad for junior high.
And Kara, can I add something? Just when I've had my conversations with Kara, talking about the reviews, Kara evaluates the company's reviews. And if the review gives us a different book than the review told us, then we're not going to be able to use that company. We have to be able to trust these reviews. And so the years that she's been doing this, she's come up with this is where I trust that I'm going to get what I'm being told I'm going to get.
And in our selection criteria, I've given you kind of a list of some of the ones that we use. These are some of our acceptable ones. It's really small print, sorry. But we just have a group that are just standard. I try not to go away from the norm because, like Dr. Harrington said, I know the ones I can trust and the ones that I'd rather stay away from. So if the public does have any concerns or comments, there is a feedback form. No, I'm not signing in. May have to. Okay, trust me, it's there. But it just asks, it's very simple and it's very short. It just asks the parent. It's a parent, a community member, or what's the third one? An employee of the district that can comment on a book. Anyone else is not eligible to be able to comment. But all comments received within the 30-day period will be addressed. I will review them, I'll send them to y'all. Dr. Johnson and I talked about making sure that we circle back around to the person that took the time to do it, to let them know what we decided to do. Thank you, we appreciate it, and then go from there. And then there's just a brochure here that will give parents more information if they want to see what our process is from start to finish for buying a book. Any questions on this section? Any comments?
Kara, first and foremost, thank you so much for this. This is amazing work. I know other duties as assigned by our wonderful legislators. Is it your vision probably that this will be done seasonal, fall, spring, maybe summer, or what's your thoughts on that?
So in the brochure, I had it going twice a year.
Okay.
But I don't know, I think maybe it would be okay if we tried to do it 3 times a year, so that if we did it maybe in the summer, that would give you a little extra time, and then the librarians could order before that deadline of being able to get books in at the end of our fiscal year. My worry is always that, particularly at the elementary level, when a new book came out, I would go to Barnes & Noble and buy it myself and have it in the library the next day, because it's going to take me a couple of months for that book to get in there as a library book, and I didn't want my students to have to wait. So they want the new books, and so we want to be able to get them in there, and if they walk in and see the same thing over and over, it really is, kind of discouraging to them to want to come back. So if we can get new books in as quick as possible. And honestly, the librarians, as soon as November 7th is over and there aren't any questions, then they are going to be ready with purchase orders to be sent off immediately. Any others?
So where did the original list, how do they get generated? Are those recommendations from teachers, librarians? Is there a industry list that comes out? Here are all the new books that we think you should add to your library?
Yes to all of the above. And the librarians will tell you, they start in the summer looking at those, School Library Journal and Hornbook and Book List. They'll start looking at those just to see what's coming out. And then, the latest Dogman's coming out, so that's going to be on everybody's list. Or the latest Jory John is going to be on everybody's list. They've got those hot titles and authors already ready, and they know when their newest ones are coming out, and they've got those books out there. So, any other questions, comments? We'll jump to this last one. So the state did, on the reconsideration processes, make some changes, and said that they basically told us we had to use what they had given us, that we could add to it, but we could not take anything away from it. And so I worked with Carmen Rayburn in technology, and she was instrumental in helping me put together a challenge form in Laserfish, so that if there is an official challenge, of course we want to try to resolve anything informally that we can. We want to have that conversation with them, see if we can address it, offer an alternate assignment or an alternate book, whatever it takes. But if they do decide they want to move forward, it would go to this form. And so the way we set it up was in Laserfish. We did ask them what their role was, the title, the author, the ISBN. I just want to make sure again that I get the right book. And then how do you think this violates the TSLAC standards if you're not sure what they are? Here's a link to them over here. What this will do, and then I also ask them to give me supporting material. Take a screenshot of something that you think that is offensive or is a problem. I ask them if they've reviewed it in their entirety, and then have you discussed this concern with your campus or district employee, because we want to have that opportunity to clear it up before it gets to this level. Let me back up to this. So I tried to put this into a one-pager again, so that the informal would be just meeting with them and having the conversation. If it does go formal, then it would go to the superintendent. There would be a committee formed. The committee would make a decision within a certain amount of time. Then it would report back, and then if that person did not like the results of the committee, then it would go to an appeal process. It would come to you, and then if you determine to remove it, it comes out not only of every school library, it also comes out of every classroom library that the book is in. The other thing is, while a book is being considered, for whatever the reason, it has to come out or has to be made unavailable from every school and classroom, unless it is a curricular item. Curriculum has a little bit of a gray area on this one. So if it is in the curriculum and we have it already established there, then that book is I'm looking at it as kind of a safe book.
So anybody can get it, we can take it out.
You got to be a parent, a teacher, or a parent and employee, or live in the community.
Do the teachers have to have a list printed somewhere of the books that they have in their libraries, their
They do.
personal, in the classroom libraries?
We did that. We started that last year. And this year, what we asked the librarians to do was go and work with the new teachers on their campus. Now, if a teacher transferred from Arbor Creek to Shady Brook, then we could just take their list, because these are their personal books. And we could move the list from one campus to the other. But we have a Google Drive that has every school, and then the teachers just drop their list in there.
So if a parent wanted to see that, then
That's
they
by
could pull up-
request.
They could pull it up.
They can't pull it up, we can provide it for them.
Oh, okay, we can provide it.
Yes. Any other questions on that? I think so. Yeah. So any other questions before we move on? I know that was a lot. I'm really sorry. I'm trying to get this quick. The recommended rollout plan is to send an email to parents. Well, I want to be able to give them this information so that they can access the catalogs, checkouts, histories, and any restrictions that they want to request for their child. I will share the information with the principals, and then the principal or the designee will share it with their staff, and then convey that if a parent does have questions, we do want to have a conversation with them, hopeful to resolve that before it goes to something official. Any questions, concerns? Real quick. Then where we think we're going, because we have no idea what the state's going to do in their infinite wisdom. So Becky had asked some questions about plans for full-time librarians in our secondary schools, and we currently have 2 junior highs that share, and our 4 junior highs that share 2 librarians, and then our 2 high schools share. I will tell you that there are full-time aides in all of the libraries that share, but I will also tell you that a lot of times those aides do get pulled to do ISS or lunch duty or copies or other things, and so I know they do the best that they can to make sure that they keep an adult in the library at all times, because it is a gathering place for a lot of the kids to come that, don't want to go to lunch or just want a quiet place to be able to work. So we don't have any staffing changes planned at this time, but once construction's complete, we will come back around and look at this situation again to see if our financial situation and our library support needs can still be aligned. And then as far as resource allocations to support secondary, we provide, as far as I know, the schools do not purchase any databases. Either my department or Cheryl Harris's department or like our bilingual department, we provide all of those for every one of our schools. And there are no, as far as I know, there are no additional resources being requested right now. So we have given them everything they need, and then we let them spend the money the way that they feel it's best for their campus. So as far as research being built into the curriculum, this is going to, sound like, I know we know this, but I know that at elementary it's going to start in ELA. They're going to be able to also get some practice in social studies, particularly with primary source documents. They do a lot of this in the library also. The science teaks have research and critical evaluation of resources also built into them. About the only place that we don't is math. It's kind of hard to get that research in there, but we do try to get it into every one of our other subject areas. And then for students in the more advanced courses, the IB courses that do require the extended essays, theory of knowledge also has it. And then AP, some of the AP and dual credit courses will also require research. And so the teachers at that level are very well versed and are very much able to help their kids. If there is, if there is something that they need, they'll reach out and we'll either find a way to get it for them or find access for them at one of the colleges around here. And then the space issue, the 2 high schools are just, I don't know, the plans for them, the designs are amazing. I know y'all have seen them a million times, but flexibility being the ultimate goal at this point, everything is going to be movable, so the spaces can be configured to whatever is needed. I liken it to the room of requirement in the Harry Potter books. It just becomes what it needs to become for that instance, and then it goes back to, it gets a reset, and then it's ready for the next person. So think, someone said instead of brick and mortar, think click and mortar, because we are definitely looking at a more technological feel and look to everything that we're going to be using going forward. But like I said, this is not, I don't think, anything that any of you are not familiar with, that you've seen all of these before. But we wanted to look at both of these questions and make sure that we are serving students and staff the best way that we can. So in short, this is my thought on the librarians, that it's kind of an on-demand. They've got to be, if they want to remain relevant, we've got to be able to give that instant access to everything that they need, whether it's space, whether it's resources, whether it's some help with a question that they have. And then by being flexible and being responsive, we're positioning ourselves to not be, that librarian of the past, and to be that outdated person, that in the library all the time, that we're that innovative. These are going to be the center of the schools, and we want the librarian in there to be able to have the chops to be able to help whoever walks through that door with whatever their need is. I know that was a lot. Any questions, any comments?
So my question is about our responsibility in that 30-day period. So if you're going to make that available starting tomorrow, then we have 30 days from tomorrow to do our review of all of those titles. And you're going to be sending us that document that's something beyond what you showed us.
Oh, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
And so then,
Don't wait 30 days. If you have a
No, I mean,
problem
that's
with
a lot to
anything on that list, pick up the phone and call me.
Okay.
Send me an email, pigeon, whatever it takes to get it to me. We need to address it as soon as possible.
but my intention in saying this is really just to remind all of us on this dais that, we have a responsibility now to do this, and we have 30 days to do it, and it looks like it's a big task.
It is, but I don't think you're, just like I couldn't read as a librarian, I couldn't read every book that I added into my school in a year. So I know that you're not going to be able to read and to look at every one of these books. That's where we come in. That's that trust factor we've never steered you wrong to this point. We are going to give you the best thing that we can give you. They've already, kind of culled their list. I've gone through their list and done a little bit more culling. So I hope that what we give you, you're just looking at, spot checking, kind of making sure that it's what it needs to be. I'm not going to ask again if there's any questions.
Kara, thank you for.
You're welcome.
For all of your help with.
I'm sorry I was not able to be here in September to do it, but we got it done. You got me? All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right. Item 7.02, Summer School Report. Dr. Johnson.
Good evening. So I have my cast of EdOps team that we're excited to talk to you about what happened this summer during summer school. So to get us started, our strategic plan alignment, student success, and family and community partnerships. So first we start with a focus on language acquisition with our ELPs, our elementary language enrichment, and then secondary language academy program. And then when we move to a focus on recovery and support, we have our credit recovery, we have our EOC, extended school year, and then our social skills experience. And then last, we have a focus on opportunities, which you see the slew of opportunities from HEB Reads to STEM summer camp to IB summer camp, and then Invention and Camp Call, as well as the Superintendent's Merit Scholars and Superintendent Scholars. I want to highlight our campus leadership. We have Franco Rivera, which he was the program coordinator for elementary language acquisition program. And then Brent Langham was the coordinator and site director for secondary programs. Jason Wiles and Nick Cervini served as site directors for EOC and, site director for EOC and then credit recovery. For district leadership, we have Emery Butler, who led up our ELPS and language acquisition, Ms. Elledge, who HEB Reads and STEM camps, Ms. Harris, Camp Invention, IB Summer Camp, Monica Euless, Camp Call, as well as Ms. Reek, who did extended school year and social skills. We told you at the beginning of last year when we really wanted to reallocate those enrichment dollars into inside the school year enrichment that we would work with the cities to create a as robust of a website and push that information out as best possible. So we did that. We've got some feedback. We plan to continue to do that again, and we're really excited to continue to connect our families with what the opportunities are in the community. And next up, I'll bring Ms. Clark to talk about elementary.
Good evening. So for our ELP program, again, just as a reminder, this is required by the federal government that we offer this to our pre-K and kindergarten, those that are leaving pre-K and kindergarten emergent bilingual students. And there's the attendance average for you. Not bad. We would like it to be, in the 90s, but not bad for a summer program. I'd like to point out, as you can see, it's steadily increasing each year, which I know isn't surprising when you see the numbers of our emerging bilinguals we have in our district. I think we're close to 24%, the latest data. And then our Language Enrichment Academy for grades 1 through 5. If you look at that total, last year we did not have first graders, you'll notice. It wasn't that none attended. We didn't include first grade, and they had not been included prior to 2022. So we went back to including those students that just finished first grade, but quite a steady increase from 100 total students last year to well over 300 this year. So that's very exciting that we had that many kiddos attend. And again, upper 80s in the attendance. And I'm going to pass off to Katina Rhodes for secondary.
Good evening. I'll be going over secondary summer school programs. Secondary enrollment, we offered by grade level, grades 7 through 12, with 687 students, a little down from last year. Secondary summer school by program. So semester 1 and 2 for credit recovery, semester 1 and 2 for credit advancement, and then the number of students registered for multiple classes there. Credit recovery success for semester 1, 93% of our students completed successfully, while at semester 2, 89% completed successfully. And then credit advancement. First semester, 99% completed successfully, and semester 2, 94% completed successfully. The overall summer budget is funded through a variety of sources for staff, curriculum materials, and transportation, with a total amount of $509,980. Okay, next. Dr. Eldridge.
So I had HEB Reads and summer STEM camps. So HEB Reads, this was our 8th year, and depending on who you ask, I've decided to start going with the Bedford Fire Marshal, between $3,500 and $4,000. He's my most conservative, so that's why I go with him. We gave away approximately 3,000 books. We had an old friend come back. Who was our old friend, Dr. Joe? The hamburgers, yeah, come on. And then we had 3 new community sponsors that we had not had before, so we were really excited to have Dave and Buster's come, and Nothing Bunt, and some of those groups that we've not worked with and reached out to in the past that actually reached out to us to be a part of it.
I was wondering where the petting zoo was.
I was waiting on you to fund the petting zoo.
Good answer.
So, really quick, just a short, this was a video that the city of Bedford put together to highlight HEB Reads. About 20 seconds. Oh, our retired teachers, I know, just worked so hard. And our partnership with TCC has just grown every year. This is one of their signature events, they say. So, get back over here. I shouldn't be driving. Okay. So to give you a little bit of data for the cities this year, Hurst has kind of held the they've held the title for the last few years. Bedford came in at the last second and took it from them. Hurst was right at 4.5. Euless cracked 2 million minutes for the first time. City of Euless has never done 2 million. They were super excited. As an ISD, a little over 3 million minutes, 3.137, which is about a 20% increase over last year and 40% increase from where we were when COVID hit 5 years ago. Wow. So we are very excited about that. And any guesses on the totals for the community this year? So in 2023, it was 6.7 million minutes. I didn't think we would top that. And then last year, we had 8.8 million. I didn't think we'd top that. This year, we topped them with 11.1 million minutes read. So we were so excited about this, so excited. Because this is 8 years into this program. You would think it would kind of start maybe dwindling a little bit, but it hasn't. So we're very excited. And we're already meeting and getting started for 26. So I did a summer STEM camp. We did not have our Mission to Mars camps that we've had in the past. And I'm going back to Mars this year. Okay, I'm not doing 500 kids. That was a lot of children. But this was the most amazing camp. I just wish I need to send you some pictures and videos because we had 3 classes, Lego robotics. We had a coding class that was plugged and unplugged. And then we had a totally unplugged class of Design, Connect, Create. And between the 2 weeks, we had 500 kids. So Central Junior High, besides all of the secondary kids that you saw from Katina's presentation, there were another 500 in there from my kids. And they were amazing. On Fridays, they were putting together just some of, it was beyond anything that we could have expected. And so I think they had a good time. I had parents asking, can we do this again? They wanted to send their kid for week 2. I'm like, no, I'm so sorry. Are you going to do it again in July? No, I'm so sorry.
That's the best thing running.
Oh, $25 for the whole week, and you got a whole STEM bag at the end of the presentation. So it was a lot of fun, and we will see what 26 holds for us. I'm thinking maybe something similar to this again, but maybe on a smaller scale. Any questions for me? Oh, my budget, I forgot about that. Curriculum and supplies, $8,500. Transportation, we did do 2 field trips for the DCC kids, and so my total was a little less than $10,000. A lot of it came from the money that the kids paid, and then the rest of it came from my budget. The personnel was paid for out of Dr. Harrington and Dr. Johnson's budgets. And I'll turn it over to Cheryl.
We owe a debt of gratitude to Central Junior High because we took over that facility for sure. Because while Kira was there, I was there too. Camp Invention and Invention Project, we partnered once again with the National Inventors Hall of Fame and had our students in elementary doing the Camp Invention part, and then the modules that we purchased were used by our middle grades students. We continue to offer our IB Summer Academy for students who are rising juniors and have committed to IB, and then those rising seniors who are in IB. And we allow them this way to take courses like health and economics so that they have room in their school year schedule to fulfill IB requirements and also have maybe an elective they picked for themselves. And then the most attended course in IB Summer Academy is research. So back to the research again. PSAT prep, this is 2 different programs for students who are demonstrating national merit potential. We have our superintendent scholars who do 2 weeks of PSAT prep, a week of verbal and a week of math. And then we have our rising, or our 11th graders who are superintendent merit scholars who do the KD college prep program. And they have one more night to do all their work because their PSAT is Wednesday. Then, everything comes out of our advanced academics budget, although costs are offset by different, fees that we charge students, often on a sliding scale where we differentiate between free and reduced and non-free and reduced. And then on behalf of Monica Ubius, I will say that she carried on with her Camp Call, her Chinese and Arabic language learning camp, where they keep kids in the language if they're already taking it, but also try to recruit students who are interested in taking those languages. And that is for me. Any questions for me?
We had 2 summer programs that were for students with IEPs, and the first one is extended school year, so this is something we're required to do through the federal government. And we had lower enrollment than usual. We usually hit around 30, 40 kids for this program, so we're a little bit smaller, and we hold that at Bell Manor. At Bell Manor, we also have a social skills club or experience. This is actually tuition-based. It's very nominal fee that we have parents pay, and some students can go for free. But the target audience for this are students who don't have a lot of special ed support during the school year, but they do require social skills. So a lot of the students in these programs, and it's first grade through 12th, we do have some high school and junior high kids that show up for this program, and they're grouped with their peers, or students with high functioning autism, or students who require social skills, but just a little bit of SPED during the school year. So we usually have some typically functioning peers that are partners with them in the social skills project. All right, any questions? Okay.
All right, and that rounds out the Ed Ops cast of characters. Any questions?
Any questions on the summer school report? Thank you, Brandon. 7.03, typing instruction report. Dr. Norgard.
Good evening. I am bringing this report that came up through a request from a board member to talk about typing instruction and what we're doing in our schools currently. I tied this to the strategic plan under effectiveness and efficiency because as I went back and reviewed all the questions that were asked that I wanted to be sure I was bringing information back tonight, many of them were about, so what are we doing? How do we know that it's working? What might we do differently? So I happened to tie it to this connection for a strategic plan for this evening. So when we think about keyboarding, little history, we've got our current year, and then as we look back 5 years, there are definitely some events that have impacted the need for keyboarding or typing for our students. You might recall back in 2020, we actually became a one-to-one district. That was the same year, actually, that STAR went to online administration. It was a choice at that point in time. By the next year, it was going to be a requirement, and we took that leap. In that year, we decided it was time to do that. We wanted to give our students that experience first and transition ahead of some of our surrounding districts. So then we had a year of adjusting to all of those things. And then in 22-23, that is the shift in STAR, where writing was now in all grades. Where it used to be, there was a writing test in 4th and 7th. They're now writing in all of the grades. And even the year after that, we shifted our kinder and first grade students from their iPads to Chromebooks, where they're having a keypad. So those are a lot of changes influencing the need for keyboard usage. Before we took our leap into the typing instruction, we looked at the research. So research and recommendations, particularly around what's developmentally appropriate, how big are their hands, what are they ready for, all of these things break down into 4 major areas. So grades K-2 is really about exploration, understanding, they're just learning what letters look like, and now I've got to figure out where the A is. I just learned A, where does it belong on the keyboard? So they're building familiarity. Oh, look, there's numbers up here and letters down here. What are these other keys? By grades 3 and 4, students are developmentally appropriate for formal instruction, learning those home keys. How many of you remember from your typing class? A, S, D, F, J. So home keys, correct finger placement, starting those practice drills, the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dogs, and all of those other things that we do, really emphasizing accuracy over speed. That is what's developmentally appropriate at this point. You think about as we begin our STAR testing in grades 3 and 4, and this was part of the questions, if they have to really type responses to STAR, capitalization matters, punctuation matters. So we really are in our formal instruction for grades 3 and 4. It's developmentally appropriate to focus on accuracy. We'll work on speed as well, but focus on accuracy. So then as we move into grades 5 and 6, students are really ready for fluency building. They're going to be using those skills that we had that formal instruction in authentic writing experience, just that continued exposure and immersing themselves in a world in which they are typing. And then by the secondary grades, really, they're ready for mastery. They're going to maintain that accuracy, but that's more where we see speed coming in. So with all of that in mind, what is the right target to be shooting for at these different ages? So looking at grades 3, 4, and 5, where we're first really introducing formal typing instruction, grade 3, 10 to 15 words a minute. That may not sound very fast, but when we're focusing on at least 90% accuracy, that is what research tells us is an appropriate speed for our students, 10 to 15 words per minute. Grade 4, 20 to 25 words per minute, and grade 5, 30 plus, and then as we move into secondary, different students will advance at different speeds. But those are elementary, age-appropriate speed targets and maintaining 90% accuracy. So what did HEB plan to do after we collected all of this research? We decided we would implement our program in grade 3 for formal instruction, that earlier of the 2 years for formal instruction. We embedded it in the English language arts block, since the biggest chunk of writing to begin with for our students would happen through ELA. And we set it up in the daily schedule as 10 minutes per day as part of their word study and conventions time. There's a lot that happens in ELA, but this is where we put this as word study and conventions. The program we adopted is called Typing Club. But every time I say that, I think people picture, we came together after school and we were typing. Typing Club is the name of the program. It includes anchoring lessons, instructional videos, and of course, skills practice. So Typing Club is actually through ClassLink. These third grade students could also access it at home. So while we built 10 minutes into their daily routine at third grade, students could do it more often at home. So I'm layering on top of the timeline we first looked at of where keyboarding became more important. We actually implemented Typing Club in 23-24. So now we have 2 full years of data, and we had this request from you to really look at this data. So we're taking a look, we're bringing this data to you to say, okay, let's evaluate what's happening. We've had 2 years of implementation. Is this taking us where we need to be? Do we need to make some tweaks? Is there something to do differently, or we're good? Let's keep on moving with this program. So in terms of usage, and you'll see for the first 2 years, we have a full year's worth of usage. The usage reports that I was able to pull from the first to the first, and so at the time that I was preparing this report to you, we had not concluded September. And so really, when you think about our start of school for the current year, that's really only about 2 weeks of data. So you can see the first year, 4 hours and 50 minutes was the average time per student across the entire year. And then those are the total number of lessons completed within the district. What I really wanted to illustrate for you is we really ramped it up the next year. And when you look at where we are 2 weeks in, we're ramping it up again. Okay, so the usage is going up. However, let me anchor when I told you our plan was 10 minutes per day. Well, let's say in 6 weeks you get 25 days that you're on Typing Club. Things happen, there's assemblies, other things might happen. So 25 days in each of our 6 weeks will be 150 days. If you did 10 minutes each of those days, that's actually 25 hours. So while our usage is increasing, we're a long way from that target of our intended usage. Okay, so that's one piece of information. But I want to layer that for you because in addition to just how long students are spending in the program, here's their performance. So the average speed by the end of the year was 13.1 words per minute, and the second year it was 12.8. So actually we're spending more time and just ever so slightly slower in the words per minute, but accuracy went up. We are well within the speed accuracy and, the average speed and above the average accuracy. So even though we're not getting as much time in as intended, we are hitting these goals. So that brings to mind the question as we move into this, if we're viewing this from an evaluation perspective. Okay, we have 2 full years of data. In watching data this year, there's probably a critical mass somewhere between I'm going to hit enough minutes that I start seeing even more speed. There's not a lot more accuracy we can get, but what else can we do with speed with more investment versus really between the first 2 years of implementation when we saw more average hours per student, we saw slightly smaller on the speed. So we really want to watch this because if it turns out we don't need 10 minutes every day, we don't want them typing for that 10 minutes. We want them in their language arts instruction, but we're going to have to continue to watch it to find out exactly where this is. 2 years worth of data tells us we're moving in the right direction, we're within our targets, but we need to find that balance between the number of minutes they spend in the program and the outcome that we're seeing from that result. So do you have questions for me about our typing club?
So the 10-minute build-in that you have to do typing club, how does that relate to the average time it takes to finish one of the lessons?
That depends on it is self-paced, so some students may go very quickly through it and others not as much. And they may move through one lesson and maybe a drill. They might spend 2 days on a lesson. It's going to depend on the student, I'm afraid.
So could you have a kid who's getting a lesson done in 3 minutes and then turning it off, and that's why you're not getting minutes, or?
Teachers can see, the data reports that I got from our vendor were district-wide. I do have some campus-level data too, but the teachers have student-by-student data where they can be watching that and seeing what is the student doing. It is totally independent when the student sits down with the keyboard. It does not require direct instruction from the teacher, which has helped some of our campuses. Language arts is the biggest number of minutes in the day, and how that comes out evenly around recess and lunchtime. It's not always continuous, so this is a nice piece that can happen, in one of those smaller chunks of time that they might have, and the students can just be independent on that, but we do need to be sure that they're on the program.
So you said that they can access Typing Club outside of school since they have access to ClassLink. How is there any communication to parents, letting them know that that's available to them?
So I will say we did not control that at the district level in these first 2 years. Many campuses did and some did not. So that's brought up a good point to us, that how can we be sure that parents are aware? We had some, I know of stories where parents discovered it later and they're like, oh my goodness, I wanted to know about this. So we are looking at our communication of that at the district level rather than leaving that to the campus.
Very good.
So
It might be fun to have a booth about it at HEB Reads.
Oh, I thought you were going to suggest a little typing challenge that we were all going to take. So, any other questions?
So Holly, and this is more of just an informational question. So let's say I'm moving into the district and I don't have a child that speaks English but starts at 3rd grade. Will they get this when they switch over to ELA in 4th, or how does that going to work?
Okay, so when you say they don't speak, you mean in EB or in one of our bilingual Spanish programs?
Right. Or they're starting out not speaking English, so they're
Okay. Even if they are not speaking English, they are in a language arts class. They just have scaffolded support, either from the language acquisition coach is supporting those teachers, because all of our elementary teachers are ESL certified.
Quick question. As far as typing clubs goes, you mentioned something about optimization. So how many minutes does it take to get X speed? Does Typing Club provide any of that information? Have they done their own research that can kind of indicate and give us kind of an idea of if they spend this many minutes a day, then they're going to be at this speed?
I will need to look into that further for you. I do know that it was their recommendation of the 10 minutes a day and those targets but I'll see if there's some more detailed reports or information I could share with you.
Great. Well, Holly, thank you for this information.
Yes.
Typing club is only in third grade?
That is where we have chosen to put it right now.
So if we're evaluating this now after 2 years, has there been any discussion on whether it should continue to be just in third grade, whether it should be third, fourth, and fifth grade, expanding? Because I'm just looking at the chart that says, third and fourth is formal instruction, and then 5 and 6 is fluency. Are we losing that fluency by not taking it any further than third grade?
That's a good question. I don't know that we have studied the fluency in a different grade because we don't have an instrument with which to do that. We could pursue and look at what options are to see about an independent fluency measure that maybe we could just assess students at a certain point without having to buy subscriptions for all of those, just to see where we are and what is our progression.
Do we have any idea, just because of our mobility, how many, like when they get to fourth grade, how many of our fourth graders have had any typing instruction in third grade? Or how many of our fourth graders have had no typing instruction?
That came from outside of HEB? No, we did when we first explored the program, talk about possibly having some additional licenses for other grades, et cetera. But as far as an avenue, because that would pull them out of the current language arts instruction, we did not do that because we allotted the minutes in third grade and not fourth.
You mentioned the typing being important because of the star grading on taking into account punctuation and grammar and spelling. Do we feel like this is an important instruction to provide to our students after having it for 2 years? Is it valuable to us? Is it important to us?
I do believe it's important to have the formal instruction at third grade. That is the year they're going to transition to the STAR test and start writing. As far as adding additional years of formal instruction, at this point, we're not seeing that need. Teachers are seeing their typed responses. I mean, when we became a one-to-one district, the handwriting skill is still very important. And in fact, cursive is in second grade, which is why third grade is a great time to introduce the typing, because we've worked on manuscript printing and then cursive, and now we're moving into this new modality of communication. But every teacher, ELA and other subjects, have the opportunity to see their students typing as far as accuracy, et cetera, because they are responding in short constructed response in multiple subject areas. The extended constructed response is specifically in ELA. But teachers are seeing the results of their students typing. Now, as they are reviewing information, they are probably seeing more the accuracy at the end and not necessarily judging the speed with which each student typed an answer to a prompt within our own platforms.
On the usage data, did you see a large fluctuation between schools?
We did see some difference in the data between schools. So those have brought up some additional questions that we may want to ask as far as where is that 10 minutes situated for different schools. Like I said, sometimes it's right in the middle of the language arts block, but it might be at a different point or set aside. So those are things that we can further explore to see if there's a particular campus that's having trouble finding those minutes. Right now, everyone's a long way from that target. But again, we're not sure we're hitting the speed and accuracy targets without.
What is your timeline for the next step, the next analysis, to have an idea of where we are and
Well, we wanted
to the board?
to bring it back to you to see any other addition or direction and guidance, and then we will at our next educational operations meeting be talking about our next steps, where else to go from here. So I do not have the timeline yet. I wanted to be sure whatever our next steps were included any additional questions that you might have.
Well, because I asked for this, I think this is great, because this gives us a foundation that at least I didn't have as far as what we're doing and how it's being looked at right now. So I think we needed to do this step before even looking at the next step. So thank you for doing this.
All right, join the club.
Thank you, Holly. All right, we're on to regular board meeting agenda items. 8.01, budget transfer amendment request and consideration in October 2025. Mr. Williams.
Yes, good evening, Board. So what I've got for you this evening, the first thing is for review is the budget transfer and amendment request for the month of October. I'll start with the budget transfers, which are function to function that's required board approval. Really like this month, we've got a transfer of $9,205 from function 21, instructional leadership, into instruction for special ed supplies. And then another very small transfer of $250 from school leadership to instructional leadership for some travel needs at that level. So that, like I say, those are pretty light. Budget amendment, on the other hand, that's a little bit larger, $330,000. This is an amendment increasing our budget by $330,000 for the, we due to increased special ed requirements, population, we did have to put on some additional staff. I believe we hired 2 teachers and 5 aides for that, and that's transfer. We just increased our transfer out of the payroll set-aside fund to balance our budget with that. So, any questions on that?
Any questions on the transfer amendment? All right, 8.02, quarterly investment report for quarter ending August 2025.
Okay, our quarterly investment report is there for your review. As you might note, our portfolio balance is starting to decline, which is a result basically of we're starting to spend a lot of those construction dollars, paying for all that construction going on. So that's impacting our investments, as well as a little bit lower interest rate market. So you're going to see our investment revenue start to decline a little bit. I think last quarter we were a little over 4% average for our portfolio. Be glad to try to answer any questions you have with that.
All right, any questions on the quarterly investment report? All right, thank you, Dobie. 8.03, network management and cybersecurity software. Any questions? All right, 8.04, Adolf Weber Gymnasium, or how do you pronounce that? Gymnasium? Memorandum of Understanding. Any questions?
Let me make a quick note on that. One of the things that was changing in this, and will most likely change it for the JFK school also, is we always do our 5 foreign exchange students, and we always do our waiver for 5 or more per campus, and we always fill our 5 at our campuses. What we've done is we've taken 2 additional, so we're not going to take out of that, but 2 additional, potentially that we could have 7 exchange students per campus, and 2 will be dedicated to our sister schools, our GAP Club sister schools. So Adolf Weber and JFK School, you like what I did there, right? Yeah, thank you. But they'll have 2 dedicated spots, so we can always know that we'll have 2 long-term exchange with those schools. And so we think this will be another way to keep the partnership strong.
All right, any other questions? All right, and 8.05, international student travel. Any questions besides the obvious, can I go? All right, we're ready for action items. 9.01, consider approval of donations for the October regular board meeting presentation of certificates of appreciation. Were there any questions on any certificates? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the October 2025 donations as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the October 2025 donations as presented. Please vote. That motion passes. 9.02, consider approval of campus improvement plans. Dr. Johnson, do you have anything to add, or are we just up here for questions?
Just questions.
Yeah, we all received those in our Friday update, so anybody have any questions on any of the campus improvement plans? All right, hearing none, I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the campus improvement plans as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the campus improvement plans as presented. Please vote. And that motion passes. I'm guessing that reading the campus improvement plans is going to be a lot like reading all the book reviews, page after page after page. All right. 9.03, consider approval of revision to the 2025-2026 compensation plan.
So we're bringing to you tonight 2 new stipends, and they are both in the area of special education, and they are both to support those who are working with some of the challenging behaviors that exist, but also coaching teachers in those behaviors. So one of those stipends is to provide $5,000 of behavioral support to our behavior specialists who currently are working in that role. And then the second stipend is for behavioral training. And this will be provided to our coordinator of special populations for behavior, who does all of the trainings for our safety care and also supervises our 6 behavior specialists, our 21 behavior assistants, and 7 care teachers, and is responsible for all of their support training as well. Those are the 2 new stipends we're bringing to you, and then we are doing just a little bit of cleanup that we normally would wait till next year to do on just changes that have happened since, with your all's approval, since the comp book was approved. Any questions?
All right, any questions on these revisions? I'll accept a motion.
I move that the board approve the updates to the 2025-2026 compensation plan as submitted.
I have a motion and a second that the board approve the updates to the 2025-2026 compensation plan as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. 9.04, consider approval of update to 2025-2026 staffing table.
As we work through the prolonged absence of a teacher in one of our classrooms, one of our special education classrooms, we are asking for the board to approve a unit for that classroom that we will be able to eventually do away with, but need to have a teacher in that classroom right now. And so this is one special education teacher in a PACES program. Any questions?
Any questions on the new staffing unit? I'll accept a motion.
I move the board approve the update to the staffing table as submitted.
I have a motion and a second for the board to approve the update to the staffing table as submitted. Please vote. And that motion passes. All right, we are ready for other business. Does any board member have any item they would like to request be placed on a future board agenda? All right, so review of the board activity chart. Looking at the month of October, it looks like we have everything covered. Looks like we're pretty good through the month of November. All right, no need for a second closed session? No, sir. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.